12:05 in the afternoon here on 90.3 FM. It's Wednesday. That means it's Helping Seniors of Brevard, one of our favorite days of the week. And that great music, kind of the music of your life, means it's time to get things underway with our host of the program and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here is none other than Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper. Thank you. It's always fun. We look forward to Wednesdays because we get together around the radio lunchtime here on 90.3 FM, WEJF. Also want to welcome those who are listening to us online at wejf.net, as well as those who catch this as a podcast later, because a couple of reasons you want to know about the podcast, even if you're listening to this live on the radio right now, is you might get something out of today's program that has meaning. And I don't know if this happens to you, but I'll see something or hear something, and I go, oh, that would be perfect. So-and-so needs to hear this information. And the cool thing now, because we archive everything as a podcast, you can find it later on YouTube. You just look for Helping Seniors of Brevard on YouTube. You can look for Helping Seniors of Brevard on Facebook because we make sure the radio show gets out there as well. And then every place you get a podcast. It doesn't matter if it's Apple iTunes or Spotify or iHeartRadio or Hey Alexa, you'll find Helping Seniors Radio there. And this is a show that you're going to want to, I think you're really going to get a lot of benefit out of, because what I love about the opportunity we have in Helping Seniors is that we are 100% local to Brevard County. When Joe Steckler, our president and founder, created Helping Seniors all those years ago, I guess he sort of came up with the idea after he had retired from the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation. He built all those things called the Joe's Clubs, 3 of them around the county that serve with excellence unto this day. But he said, as he retired from that, he said, Kerry, there's more work that needs to be done for seniors, because seniors have more challenges than strictly cognitive ones. And so he said, we really need an organization that can help navigate seniors and their families, get them to where they need to go. And so I thought, let's call today's show all about navigating your aging plan. And then as we were talking about who would be a great person to be able to help us talk through some of the things that you want to talk about, and it's somebody who's been really involved in this side of it for a number of years and very, very dedicated. And it's one of the things that when Joe Steckler, our president and founder, who just turned 90 actually in December, and he works every day on helping seniors, whatever we can do that's going to make an impact, a positive impact for seniors and their families. We have really been blessed by pulling together a group of people who are like-minded. They all run businesses, so yes, at the end of the day, they have to make sure they can pay the people that work with them and do the things that are necessary to keep a business running. But there's a difference between running a business where your whole motive is what's your profit margin, and you have a business where really, how successful am I? And that has to do with much more than money. It has to do with taking care of the people that are your, for lack of a better way to call it, your customers or your clients in your business. And the gentleman who's in the studio with me today, I'm going to give him a big build-up because the more I get to know him, the more impressed I am with him. His name is Carlos Cuesta, and he has an organization, a company called Synergy Home Care of Palm Bay and Melbourne. Hey, Carlos, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, Kerry. Thank you.
And I want to brag on you for a minute because I've known you now for a little bit of time, and I see we always laugh wherever we go. Helping Seniors always tries to get out to whatever's going on that's relevant for seniors. I don't care if it's a senior expo. It could be some great informational event that seniors can learn more. It could be a networking event where people in the business come together to share stories and get better. And Carlos, you're always there.
I try to be everywhere I can be.
No, you do terrific, and everybody universally loves working with you. I saw we're together in a group called the Golden Providers, which is a organization of businesses that serve the senior population. And we get together once a month, and it sort of is a little bit of business-to-business networking, but it's also an education opportunity for us. We had an excellent speaker yesterday who gave us, his name is Rick Wiedenhoft. He's with Keller Williams. And he gave a great talk about helping teach us how to be successful in our own marketing of our businesses, or in our case, if you want to say we're not a business, we're a nonprofit. The only reason we exist is to serve others. But Carlos, that's almost like your motto. The only reason you do this is to serve others too, right?
Yeah, Terry, I'm the owner of Synergy Home Care, and for nearly 40 years I was in human resources.
Yeah.
So when I decided to go out on my own, I looked for different businesses, and I found the home care business, and I liked it. I fell in love with it. I love what I do every day because we're helping people, and my thing is, how do we put a smile on someone else's face? How do we help make their lives just a little bit better? So I love being with Synergy Home Care. I made the right decision. I meet families each and every day where I'm being able to help them out.
You know, I was thinking about that when you said, because I remember that when I first met you and you talked about your background in HR, I said, well, that almost means almost by definition you have to be a people person, right? Because you're dealing with people all day long, right?
Exactly. On a daily basis, whether I'm networking or whether I'm meeting with a family conducting a home assessment or they're coming to visit me in my office, you're dealing with people each and every day. And each family has a little bit of different need, personality. So it's really about listening to them, what's important to them, asking the right questions, and helping them.
Yeah, so we talk about this thing called an aging plan. And I want us to kind of back into this because Joe, when I first met him, he said, Kerry, he said, every family, every individual needs their own aging plan. And at first I was trying to wrap my mind around, like, what is an aging plan? You know, what does that exactly mean? And I finally kind of like connected some dots and got it that, hey, if we live in Florida, we understand having a hurricane plan. It doesn't mean you want to have a hurricane. It means you want to have a plan if they say, hey, listen, this thing's headed this way, what you going to do about it? And I think that's Joe's point about the aging plan. Is like, there are things that you might run into along your aging road, and you might as well benefit from getting ahead of that curve rather than catching up. For 13 years now, Helping Seniors has operated the County Senior Information Helpline. It's a free call at 321-473-7770. I'll say that number one more time so you get a second and grab a pencil and jot it down if you don't have it. It's, again, area code 321-473-7770. But I can tell you, Carlos, when people call Nancy or Karen in our Helping Seniors Joe Senior Resource Center and they're calling with questions, a lot of times it's people who are in the middle of a crisis. They're trying to, mom had a fall, she's in the hospital, can't come home safely. Now we got to figure out how we're going to do this. There's always these kind of like pivotal moments. And I guess that's a place that you guys are also used to being, but isn't it much more relaxing when you can meet a family, there's not a crisis, and you can just map out a good plan?
Yeah, that's true, Kerry. We always advise families to plan ahead, especially if you have a parent living in the area and you're from out of state in a different area. It's more difficult, more challenging. So we ask, or we suggest having that plan in place. But even in those cases, with last minute, we meet with families as quickly as possible within 24 hours and begin the service within 48 hours at the most, because we know there's a need there. But it's always good to plan ahead.
Yeah, we talk about, I would assume that if we walked into any fire station in Brevard County and asked the guys, do you want to show up and put out the fire at the home? They say, well, of course, that's our job. But we would so prefer somebody to have us come look through the home and identify fire hazards and prevent the fire, right?
That's exactly what we do. When we conduct a home assessment, which only takes about an hour, there's no cost to it. We put a care plan together, but part of that care plan is visiting the home, seeing if everything that should be in place is in place to support that senior person, making sure they're safe in their home, making sure there's no issues with tripping or falling, and then we give some advice, some suggestions on how to improve those areas, because we also do talks on how to prevent falls and injuries at home, so you can stay home and feel secure in where you feel most comfortable with.
Yeah, I think you were just called on by the folks over at Hibiscus Court. You just actually did a seminar for them to educate them how to stay safe like that, right?
Yeah, we just did that this week, and we did one. We have one coming up with a 55-plus community, and we leave some material behind with people attending. And they find it very beneficial because these are very simple, common sense things, but we don't think about them ahead of time.
Well, I think that's the point. So we always would ask ourselves, how is it that we find ourselves in the situation where we're suddenly having to make really what I would call life-changing decisions on a dime. Because again, maybe there was a medical event, maybe there was something else that happened, and now everything is shifted, and now whether you like it or not, you have to confront it. So that's why we've always talked about, we use the euphemism, when Joe calls it making an aging plan, we just try to keep it a little bit light, a little barnyard, and we go, okay, let's get your ducks in a row. Let's take a minute now and do that, because so many people put this stuff off and wait until there's a crisis. So then you're trying to make decisions at the point of maximum stress when all stuff is breaking loose. And you don't have nearly the options you do when you have the luxury of saying, well, we could do this. We could have, think about how it is just when you get in your car to go someplace. If you're running late, you're already stressed out and you're just trying to get there. If you're out for a Sunday drive, you can take out the map and say, oh, this is the scenic way. We could choose this, or if we want to be, you have all these options. Why do we not do this more, Carlos, when we're thinking about ourselves getting older? This is like the reason I think we exist, is to try to help people. Don't be afraid of this. Get ahead of it.
Yeah, and I say that all the time, but I kick myself sometimes, because I can get better at that as well.
Well, we can preach this all day. I'm not saying that we're perfect at it, but we know at least what we're shooting for, right?
But it's true. When you plan ahead, you're going to feel more comfortable. You're going to make better decisions financially, with your family, what kind of care you need in place. And I tell you, I've been in families' homes on Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday mornings. It's when they need it. But again, let's plan ahead. Let's be safe. Let's make the best decisions we can for our loved ones.
That's another point I want to bring up. So we've had now for several years this theme. We call it getting your ducks in a row, which is our light-hearted version of what Joe says, let's make the aging plan. But two things we've learned along the way, and I want to touch on these with you. The first one we kind of introduced last year, and again, I don't know why we keep using animals. Maybe it's just because it's fun. But we say be wise, which means don't try this on your own. Like a lot of times what happens is a family member says, I'm going to step in and I'm going to do this. And for the first week, maybe the first month, it's okay. But as time goes on, one of the things that I see happen a lot of times in families, and you could probably say this even better than I do, is that now it's impeding the person's work schedule, everything else they need to get done in life, and then it's very tough to be a caregiver just in general. And if you're not trained and you don't know what to do, you can make mistakes and things that so a lot of times getting the help you need, and particularly we're blessed to live in Brevard County where there is so much good help. How do you talk to families about the value? Because a lot of times people say, no, I want my son to take care of me because I know him and I trust him. And I guess probably a lot of times breaking through that, earning that trust thing, and then the people are like, why didn't I do this before?
Yeah, that's a good point. Excellent point, Kerry. A lot of our families do try that, and they find out that it doesn't work. We all have our lives, our jobs, our things to do, and especially if it's a spouse who's elderly as well, they need that respite care.
Yeah.
And what's nice about Synergy, what we offer our clients is no minimums. It can be 1 day a week. It can be 2 days a week, so that other family member can go play golf, do their hair, be with their friends, do their hobbies. But it's really important to take care of yourself, too, because it's also your health. And if you're not healthy, it's going to be much more challenging to help your loved one.
Right. I was thinking about when you get on the airplane and they give you that little safety briefing, they always say, well, in case the oxygen mask comes down, put this on your own nose before you turn around and help somebody else that might need the help. And that isn't that almost rule number one of caregiving. You've got to make sure that you protect yourself so that you can be a good caregiver. And sometimes that means getting help so that you just don't wear yourself out when then you're no good to anybody.
And we all need help from time to time.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with asking for help. And what's nice about the CNAs and the home health aides that they're professionals. They're trained in this area, so they can help the family members in various ways.
Yeah.
Especially if the family member has Alzheimer's or dementia, we can help them with exercises or different games or things they can do to help themselves. But it's really important that, having a professional, taking care of yourself, maybe that 1-2 days a week, go do your thing, and have a healthier life for everybody.
That brings up another point. Is I was thinking that even if you're concerned, you want to be a good caregiver, and maybe you feel you have the time. One of the challenges is, we used to say this in the research business, there's a sample size of one, meaning that you're kind of getting on the job training, learning how to do this. One of the elder law attorneys that we work with a lot, Amy Van Fossen, but she's the law office of Amy B. Van Fossen. She says, Kerry, she said, we work with, she goes, the average family is going to deal with some of these aging issues once or twice in their lifetime. She goes, we're working 30 or 40 of these a week, and we've done this for 20 years. And so she goes, when we're presented with something, we know how the best way to approach that is, because that experience matters. And I was thinking, just as you were talking about that, the fact that the people that you work with, this is not their first rodeo. They understand the area that they're serving and can really make a difference.
Yeah, it is. It's very important to have those people that are professionally trained. And we match up the caregiver with the family needs, whether it's cancer care or memory care. Maybe it's just aging in place, but we really match up the caregiver with their personality, what they like to do, what they enjoy to do, that matches up with the family member.
Yeah,
and it keeps them safe, and it's a great resource. It really is.
So when we come back to this point about don't try this on your own, I want to bring up one other topic, because I think it can be dangerous, because people will go someplace, maybe they go down to the grocery store, there's a bulletin board, and they'll see a lady who will come into your home and help you, and so you call that number and you say, I'm going to get this help because they're affordable and all that. And I know aspersions to anybody that's done that, but you just don't know. And I know one of the big challenges that we have for seniors in general is the fraud and where these situations get taken advantage of, or somebody comes in as a caregiver and then there's a problem later, and because it was just some number you kind of plucked out of thin air, there's nothing to back all that up. And so it could be very dangerous to bring somebody into a situation, because you just really don't. It could turn out great, but it could also drain your bank account. You just never know.
Yeah, I hear those stories all the time.
Yeah,
I had just one client of mine who had a home caregiver that she just found through a friend, and the home caregiver was not friendly, a little abusive, and it was not through an agency. So this person was not checked out.
Oh wow!
Yeah, at Synergy, we make sure that they have their clear background. They're certified through the state of Florida, and then we keep an eye on them with the family. Are they doing a good job? Are they not doing a good job? Do we need to replace them? But, 9 out of 10 times we've been very successful finding the right caregiver for that family.
Yeah, I call it accountability, right? Because our state attorney, Phil Archer, he's come and spoke at the group that we were at yesterday before, the Golden Providers, the business networking, and he gave a presentation on scams and frauds that affect our elderly population, and he's very concerned about. In fact, he publishes a newsletter once a month trying to educate us about whatever the latest things his office is seeing where seniors are being taken advantage of. And unfortunately, a lot of times it comes from within the household, from somebody that they thought they could trust. And this is the point. You need to have somebody where there's those checks and balances. And that's one of the things that I would think, well, when we say don't try this on your own, you don't need to try to figure out how to hire that right person. You take somebody. How many years of HR experience did you say you had before you got?
I hate to say it, but almost 40.
So I mean, you've seen. I mean, I have to say it this way: you've seen good, bad, and ugly. Yeah, so you really know what to look for when you're bringing somebody on board.
Yeah, we screen our caregivers very carefully, our candidates, and I always tell my clients, if it's a person I would not put in my home with my mom or dad, I'm definitely not going to put them in your home with your mom or dad.
Yeah. So that's that point that we talk about, like, don't try this on your own. There is so much good help. We're talking with Carlos Cuesta with Synergy Home Care of Palm Bay and Melbourne. And I just want to make sure, we'll do this a couple of times, but I want to make sure if people are hearing us talk, they have a question, say, oh, I didn't know, or I'd like to get more information, or what about this? How would they reach you? What's some good ways to get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. Yeah, we have our phone number, and we're on 24/7. As I'm the owner, so I answer my phone. I've gotten calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, believe it or not. But The number to reach is 321-340-3828. Again, 321-340-3828. 7 days a week, 24 hours, I pick up my phone.
And that's the point, is like you have some peace of mind. So whatever's going on, you can call somebody who really understands the whole spectrum here and knows what's the right tool to apply at the right time. The second corollary, though, right, because it's about getting your ducks in a row. It's about don't try this on your own. But the third thing we've added this year, which is also a thing I want us to get into a little bit, again, we're back to the barnyard theme. Don't be an ostrich. Don't put your head in the sand and put off something that you could do effectively today while you have all the luxury and the time of options and things like that. And then rather than just all of a sudden it's now hit you full face and you have to drop everything and figure this out. Talk about why it's important for somebody to start accessing home care early, because it seems like that gets mom, dad, aunt, uncle kind of used to having that help. So if things need to go a little bit farther, get more help, they're not going to be resistant at that point because they already see it as a plus, not a minus.
Yeah, you know what I tell families? Just give us a call. We can answer any questions that you have. We can educate you on the industry as a whole and on Synergy, of course. And then we can conduct a home assessment, no obligation. There's no cost. And we can meet your loved one and then put a plan together and see if that works for you. And then I tell clients, just try us out. Even if it's one day, if it works, and then we can grow that. But our thing as an owner is how do we help families again? That's the most important thing. And how do we educate? And that's what we're in business for.
And that's the thing that I was really talking about as we were getting into the show is I think we really are blessed in the helping seniors world that the folks that we have the privilege of working together with share that kind of passion. You can tell it when you meet somebody who's really in the business for the right reasons. It becomes evident. There's just a caring, there's a compassion, there's a need to do the right thing on behalf of seniors. And Carlos, that really feels like what you're after as you build the whole Synergy Home Care organization here in the South Powder River County.
Yeah, there's families that actually call me, and then you don't hear from them for about a month or 2 months, and then they call you back.
Yeah.
And they say, we like what you did, what you told us, and you came through for us, Carlos, and now we need your services. So we're here to help.
Yeah. So we're talking with Carlos Cuesta with Synergy Home Care, Palm Bay and Melbourne. And we're going to continue this conversation on the second half of the Helping Seniors radio program. And we're going to actually dig a little bit deeper because I want you to understand what Synergy Home Care actually can do. And on the other side of the mid-show break, we are also going to be talking about some fun events. Actually, one of them is tomorrow and one of them is Saturday. But we're going to get into all of that. So make sure you stay right here with us for Helping Seniors Radio Part 2, just on the other side.
Kerry, Fink, it never fails. Whenever we have a first-time guest in the studio, they always like to kind of swing and sway to the opening theme.
There's no doubt about it, John Harper. We're always laughing about it, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily the first time guest. Just everybody loves that great music.
It's very interesting to watch, so we like that. But Kerry, Fink, good conversation going. Let's get back to the show. Kerry, Fink, the host and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard.
Thank you, John Harper. And again, welcome back to part 2 of the Helping Seniors Radio Wednesday lunch hours, we like to call it, right here on 90.3 FM WEJF. And if you're listening online at WEJF.net, welcome back. And if you're continuing with the podcast, thanks for continuing to listen. And by the way, if you missed any of the first half of the show, really good conversation going with Carlos Cuesta, who is the owner of Synergy Home Care of Palm Bay and Melbourne. And you can go back and pull this back on the Helping Seniors website, which is helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. You can get this on the YouTube page, which is Helping Seniors of Brevard, the Facebook page, which cleverly enough is Helping Seniors of Brevard, or any of the places that you find podcasts. And so we've been having a good conversation about the importance of navigating towards your aging plan. And one of the things that Carlos and I were talking about in the first half of the show is this idea that we always promote this pretty strongly in the Helping Seniors 501c3. We're a little nonprofit. We have no reason to exist other than to try to serve seniors and their families. And we can only do this, by the way, with your support and your help. So we'll talk about the car raffle and one of our big fundraisers here. We're going to reserve a couple minutes at the end of the show for that. So you want to stay tuned for some exciting announcements about that. And also toward the end of the show, we'll also talk about a great event that's coming up tomorrow at Joe's Senior Resource Center, Brevard. So we'll leave ourselves a couple of minutes for that. But I want to get back into the heart of the conversation about Synergy Home Care. And the reason I want to bring this up is because we said, one of the things we talk about so often in helping seniors is you got to make your aging plan, which we call it just getting your ducks in a row. Let's try to be ahead of the aging curve, not trying to catch up. It's always, it's like, Carlos, have you ever noticed, like, if you have plenty of time for an appointment and you get out on the road to get to that appointment, the traffic lights are green, there's no traffic, you get there early, everybody's relaxed, there's no stress. But if you leave late, you hit every red light, there's going to be a traffic tie-up along the way, and you're just stressed out the whole journey, right?
That's actually my past life. Many years ago, I was that way. Getting to the airport, getting to the flight 10 minutes before they close the doors. And then I made a decision one day. Never rush again. Just plan your time.
Stop
plan
with
your
the
route.
stress, yes.
Yeah, stop with the stress. Exactly.
And we actually control that. It's funny. In our household, every once in a while, if I start complaining about my schedule, my wife will look at me and go, she says, now, exactly who made that schedule? I'm like, okay, touche, I got it. All right. So we are responsible for making our own schedule. But one of the reasons that we really talk about getting ahead of this is because then you can relax. It's just like planning ahead a little bit. And we talked about don't try this on your own, and we also, which means getting good qualified help. But then we also talked about the fact that don't be an ostrich, which is our version of don't put this off. Go ahead and have the conversation, even if you don't anticipate needing a service for months and months. It still makes good sense to investigate and learn all the things that a great home care agency can do. Am I saying that the right way?
Yeah, I agree. You got to remember, we're dealing with our loved ones.
Yeah.
That's where we need to spend time with.
Yeah.
How many hours do we spend doing something else that's not really of importance? Here's something about your loved ones, taking care of them, especially if you don't live close to them. So, yeah, plan it ahead of time. Make the right decisions, ask the right questions. If you don't know, pick up a phone. You can call Synergy at any time. I'll answer the questions, no obligation. But again, it's your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle. Let's take care of them, and let's do it right.
I wanted to bring up this point to kind of jump into the conversation because I want people to hear about the different ways that Synergy could make a difference in a senior's life. But I want to start with a little bit of a story. Nancy Deerdorf, who is our operations director, she's like 33 years worth of registered nurse experience, so very experienced caregiver herself. And she's caregiven in her family. So she likes to tell the story about helping her father in the later years. And it got to the place, like we talked about, where it becomes too much even for one person. You got to have that respite. You got to have that break. And she said she finally had to make some decisions to get some extra help for her father. And she said it was so relieving because then she could go back to being the daughter, right? And have that kind of a good relationship rather than having to always be in that caregiver role. I guess you probably see that a lot too.
Yeah, sometimes you see the family members becoming the daughter becomes the mother.
Yeah.
And that can create some friction in the relationship.
Yeah.
And you don't need it. You don't need it to be that way. But I've seen families fall apart a little bit or have arguments that are not necessary. And we can help step in and make that an easier thing for the family.
Yeah, because, when you talk about the stress of making these decisions, first of all, everybody has an opinion, right? The problem for most of us is we're all well-meaning. It's not like the brothers and sisters are let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They're probably well-meaning. It's just everybody who's not an expert has a different idea of what should be done.
I just had that experience. Conducting a home assessment, we have the loved one there, and 6 people giving their opinion in all different directions, and we have to play a little bit of the referee.
Yeah, I am sure. Well, let's talk a little bit. Like if somebody's saying like, okay, because this is another question, and I just want to kind of lay this as groundwork for this. I always thought maybe you have to be rich and famous to get home care. But what I believe I understand from what you're telling us is you can start very, very small, very affordably, and then scale it as you might need it. Am I saying that the right way?
No, that's exactly right. We provide services. They could be 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, living. But I also have clients that use me 1 day a week for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So we really, the industry is not geared that way. It's mostly minimums, but we really do not have minimums. We want to fit what they need as a specific for their loved ones, but also their budget.
Yeah.
That's important.
So let's talk a little bit about, like, what are the things that people call you for? Like, I have a brochure in front of me, and it has, like, really a great list of what you say is, like, your most popular services. And I would like for you to just take a minute and kind of roll through that, because if you're new to the idea of, like, do I need some help at home? You know, maybe it's getting a little much for me to take care of my husband or my wife, or maybe, I'm rushing to mom or dad's after work, and it's, I'm doing the best I can, but I'm, like, so scattered now I need some help. What are the kind of things that families call you about?
Yeah, we have families calling us for different reasons. We have 2 licenses. The first one's homemaker and companionship, where a caregiver will go in and provide meal prep, light housekeeping, laundry. They can take them take the family members on errands. They can take them shopping, that sort of thing. And then we also have our license for personal care, where the family member may need help with getting dressed, taking a bath, doing their hair. That's hands-on. So it's various reasons why they use us and call us. But again, we'll sit down and we'll create a customized care plan that fits that family's needs.
Well, Joe Steckler, again, we were talking about him. Joe is our president and founder. He's 90, going into his 91st year now, and he is involved in everything we do in helping seniors. This is his reason to live, is he's always concerned for making things better for seniors. And he talks so much about what he calls elements of care. And he says you have to be careful also that you don't outlive your money. And so he says it's very important that you choose the right element of care at the right point in your aging journey, so that early on, while things are fairly solid and you can do a lot of stuff, you just get that little extra help that you might need. Like, I guess that's what you would call the companion care, right?
Exactly. And we look at how many days a week. Again, we have no minimum. And how many hours a day. Again, no minimum. We really try to fit that budget. And also, I help a lot of families. Sometimes I'm not the best business person. I'm more of a heart, I want to help. So I'll do whatever I can to make this work for that family. That's the most important thing. We want to make sure that we're there to help them in a time of need.
But one of the points that you're raising is, like, people, we think of one thing. So, like, we say, well, it might cost certain amount to have Synergy Home Care come in and do some meal planning and meal prep and things like that. And yet, what people don't realize, the hidden benefit of something like that is, like, what do we do? Normally, I don't know, I just think about my mom. We would stock the refrigerator, and then she would gravitate toward the simplest thing to get, which would probably be like a Snickers. And that may not be what the doctor wanted her to grab. And so nutritionally, when you go to the doctor says, well, you need to be on this kind of diet, or you need to watch your salt intake, whatever the thing that the doctor's trying to look out for. You guys are then able to really help make sure that rather than just running through, grabbing a burger and a bag of fries at a drive-through, that the food could actually be nutritious and correct.
Right, yeah. Part of the care plan is what kind of foods does that love member do they need? What can they have? What they cannot have?
Yeah. And
we make sure that our caregivers, they have that in their schedule, in their plan, what they're allowed to meal prep.
Yeah. And when you talk about errands, does that include like to and from doctor's visits or things like that?
It's going to doctor's visits. It's running errands. They can be going to the park.
Yeah.
We have one client that he just loves going to McDonald's and getting an ice cream cone.
Hey, it's the simple pleasures, right? I agree with that. Well, in the brochure, you talk about a lot of different areas where you guys get calls on. I mean, I'm literally just reading from this excellent brochure, but you talk about your popular services include helping folks age in place. And, we were talking about that during the mid-show break, right, Carlos, that for most of us, we love being home. I mean, that's like home is where we want to be. I've never heard somebody say, I want to be in the office at the end of my life. Everybody wants to be home, right?
Exactly.
And so you're actually making it possible for folks to stay home safely. But you go on, you talk about arthritis care for new and expected moms, which I guess that's a younger generation conversation, but cancer care, child backup care, chronic disease, illness care, diabetes care, disability care, end-of-life comfort care, hospital-to-home recovery, live-in care, 24-hour care, memory care for Alzheimer's and dementia, neuromuscular care, Parkinson's care, stroke rehabilitation. That's like a huge list.
Yeah, it is a list, and each family has their own specific needs. We work with the disabled, of course, as well, and again, we help families in any way that they need. And again, it may just be companionship.
Right.
Let's go for a walk, or let's do this or that. But the biggest areas right now is memory.
Yeah.
Dementia.
Yeah.
It's hard for families when their loved one goes through a dementia. So it's good to have somebody there who's a professional.
Yeah. No, I think so. And I think, again, when we talk a little bit about the importance of not doing this on your own, but calling somebody like Carlos Cuesta at Synergy Home Care, is that not only you have multiple layers, right? Because not only are you getting somebody that's been properly vetted who's coming into your home, but you're also getting that oversight that your experience and what you do from an accountability standpoint to make sure everything is going correctly for that senior. That just seems so important.
It is important. And what's really nice is there's no long-term contracts either.
Yeah.
So it can be for a week, it can be for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and if it's working, great. And we always make adjustments along the way.
Yeah.
So that's really, really cool. A lot of families appreciate that. But it's very simple, very flexible, very affordable, which is great. And like you said before, Kerry, a lot of families say, wow, why haven't I tried this before?
Well, that's really the thing, that most of us only ask for help a little bit too late. And then when we're resistant. I don't know, sometimes it could be pride. Like I would assume, maybe as a senior, I'm not keeping my house up as well as I'd like, because we always laugh whenever we have company over. Everybody runs around and you got to clean up the house and all this kind of stuff.
That's right.
And so maybe there's some pressure. You're like, I don't want to see me, people to see me living like this. I don't know. I mean, what do you see?
Yeah, we see that a lot. There's a lot of pride.
Yeah.
So a lot of the calls that we get will be the children of their parents.
Yeah.
And then we'll sit down with them, with that parent, and say, look, let's talk about our services, and let's start out one day a week.
Yeah.
Just one day a week. And you're going to see that the support, you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be helpful to you. And then in 90% of cases, from one day a week, it may go 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week because they appreciate that extra help.
Right, because it's like, how do I say this? I don't mean this in the wrong way, but, if you take your child and you're going to drop them off at a daycare or something, the child absolutely does not want to go in. But then when you come pick them up at the end of the day, they met all these new friends. They had a great time. And I assume maybe it's just how we are as people, right? We're a little bit uncomfortable about new situations. So I assume that probably it starts off like, maybe the senior is a little bit resistant, and the adult children are like, Mom, Dad, Aunt, Uncle, this has got to happen because we got to do something. And so then they kind of acquiesce, but then once it gets rolling, they're loving it.
Yeah, because the seniors, they enjoy someone coming in and talking to them about their interests.
Yeah.
And they'll do games, or they'll do arts and crafts, they'll do exercise, or let's go for a walk, let's go to shopping. I mean, they'll do whatever that person needs and catches their interest, versus a family member that they will be there, but they have other things on their mind.
Yeah.
They may be working, they may be taking phone calls, and they really can't give that one-on-one attention.
Right. And then also where we live in Florida, too, I would assume this happens a lot. You can correct me if I'm not saying this right. But I know on our helpline, the Helping Seniors Info line, we get a lot of calls from the adult children who don't live in Florida, but mom or dad or aunt or uncle does. And maybe they came down for a visit and they realize it's getting a little overwhelming. That well, they were fine, but now I'm not so sure. And we got to have somebody to be hands-on, eyes-on, or whatever.
We've had a few of those cases.
Yeah.
That the mother lives in Palm Bay and the kids live in Georgia.
Yeah.
And they're really worried because she's by herself, 24/7, has no help. And we come in and conduct that home assessment, and we really provide the 3-4 days a week.
Yeah.
That helps a lot. But it gives a little more peace of mind to the kids. It really does. And then we report back what's happening, good, bad, or indifferent. That's very key. And the family members that live outside the area appreciate that.
Oh, I think that's critical. And then not only that, too, I think that's the other part of it, right? Because you're able to also see the situation on the ground. So if something's changing or getting more serious or whatever, then you're in a position to help navigate whatever those next steps are.
And make recommendations to whatever other services they need.
Yeah,
they're not
absolutely.
aware of. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because you're in the business and you network so highly, you know the right next steps. It's like, it really is in most of life who you know, right?
Exactly.
Because if you know the right people, things can get done the right way. So we've been talking with Carlos Cuesta with Synergy Home Care of Palm Bay and Melbourne. We're going to talk for a few more minutes. I'm going to shift gears, but I want to make sure people know how to reach you and get the information. Like you said, it seems very low stress, right? They can give you a call, have you come in. There's no charge to do that. And even if they do say, okay, let's go at this for a while, you're not signing a contract, so you're not locked in. You can see how everything is going and all of that, right?
Yeah, it's very, very simple. And, we'll do the home assessment. We'll have the caregiver match up, and then I'll even walk them on the first day to make the introduction. And I've been at, families' homes at 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Wow. Amazing. So how do folks reach you?
The best way to reach us is just giving us a call at 321-340-3828. And you can also look us up, Google us at Synergy Home Care of Palm Bay.
That's really good. And so another way is just come on out tomorrow and meet you, because you're actually going to be there at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. We call it Joe's Senior Resource Center of Brevard because we're doing a couple events there. I want to talk to you about an event that we're doing tomorrow and an event that we're doing Saturday. So Joe's Senior Resource Center is this beautiful space that they have given to us at the beautiful Omni Healthcare building. It's right there on the medical campus downtown Melbourne, just a couple of blocks from the hospital. We're right there on South Apollo Drive. The street number is 1344 South Apollo Drive, and you just come on up to the second floor and you'll see the Joe's Senior Resource Center. But it's a great opportunity. We're in that Omni Healthcare building that's right there, second floor of that, 1344 South Apollo Drive. And tomorrow, as we do on every fourth Thursday, we have the Helping Seniors Wellness Series. And tomorrow, it begins at 11 and goes till about 12:30. And it's a great, great time of learning and fun because we always have some great snacks and things, and a lot of our members of the center and partners with Helping Seniors are out there. There's always door prizes. It's a fun morning out. It goes from 11 to 12:30. But what's going to happen tomorrow, because we're in February and it's Heart Smart month, is we actually have a couple of different presentations. Our friends at Care Plus Health Plans are going to present something called Battling Dangerous Belly Fat. And you go, well, what does belly fat have to do with your heart?
Well, I got some of that, so I definitely have to be there
so
now.
I guess we're both going to learn tomorrow. So they're going to present on this, but apparently it does have a lot to do with your heart health. But then we're actually blessed to have Tammy Lieberg, who is the owner of Practitioners in Motion, and she is actually a primary care I always get the nurse who is like your primary care physician is what Practitioners in Motion do. They come to you. They come to you and serve as your primary care. Well, she's going to give us a talk tomorrow about heart health, and then also she's going to have some of her medical professionals there doing blood pressure screenings, and what they're going to do is help us understand, like even if the doctor says, I want you to take your blood pressure readings at home, she's going to explain like how you do it correctly so make sure you're getting accurate things. So that's happening tomorrow. It's absolutely free, 11 to 12:30 at the Joe's Senior Resource Center of Brevard, 1344 South Apollo. And you guys are going to be there too, right?
Oh, I'm going to get there early, and parking's easy.
Yeah.
There's no issues with parking, so come on out, and there'll be a group of us out there, and we'd love to meet you.
Yeah. No, it's a fun morning out. And then what we're really excited about is what's going to happen also on Saturday. Same location, the Joe's Senior Resource Center Brevard. We are actually kicking off our 8th annual. It's hard for me to imagine we're into our 8th annual Helping Seniors Car Raffle fundraiser. This is actually what funds the work of Helping Seniors Brevard. It gives us about half of our budget. If you've been around us any amount of time, you know what a fun thing it winds up being. We always get down to October, and we have a big event at the American Muscle Car Museum. They've given us a date, October 27th. It's a Sunday. We're going to go to a Sunday afternoon and make it a nice daytime event family friendly. Bring the kids. It's going to be a whole thing. And this year's theme is Choose Your Adventure. And we're actually going to do the kickoff, the official kickoff for the Helping Seniors Car Raffle on Saturday morning 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. there at the Senior Resource Center Brevard. And what's neat about that is our great friend Bill Antonetz is going to have a classic car show. So there'll be like 100, 150 cars out taking over the parking lot. Just fun to walk around, see all the cars. There'll probably be some food trucks. I know the office is going to be open because we're doing an open house. So people are going to come upstairs to the second floor. We'll have coffee and donuts complimentary and lots of info tables and a chance for you to see everything that's going on at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. And the coolest thing, Carlos, is we're going to actually have, because we call the car raffle this year Choose Your Adventure. And there's actually 6 cars that you can choose from in the Choose Your Adventure car raffle, because that's really been the thing. You buy 1 ticket for $25 or get a 5-ticket pack for a $100 donation to Helping Seniors. And you get a chance, and when we pull your winning ticket on Sunday, October 27th, you tell us which car you're going to go home in. Now, Carlos, you were there when we did our very first kind of like preliminary event out there at Trinity Wellsprings, the Higher Power Car Show, and we had out there a beautiful Mitsubishi Outlander, which is one of the choices in the raffle again this year. Diane Pelak, our winner from last year, that's exactly the car she selected, so she's tooling around in her brand new Mitsubishi Outlander. Then we also had out there a neat Mazda 3 sedan, and Carlos, you are going to cue the listeners in on one more car.
The one I really like.
Yeah?
And I've seen it, the Dodge Hornet.
Yeah, that's a racy little car.
It's a racy car, V6. It comes in different colors, and oh my, it's awesome.
So we're actually going to have that car. We're revealing them one a day till we get down to Saturday. When you come out to the Senior Resource Center, you're going to see all 6 cars Saturday morning, be able to look at them up close and say, that's the one I want to win. And we'll have your tickets on site so you can go ahead and donate, get your tickets, and be set for a fun. We call it Choose Your Adventure because we actually put a little shtick with each car. We called the Mitsubishi, I think we call that the elegant choice because we have all these adjectives for each car. I know we called the Dodge Hornet, we call that the racing choice. So
that's the one I want.
That's the adventure for you. All right. So that's Saturday morning at Joe's Senior Resource Center. So again, tomorrow, Thursday, would be 11 to 12:30 for the Heart Smart Wellness Series presentation brought to you by Helping Seniors and our friends at Care Plus Health Plans and also Omni Healthcare. And then Saturday, it's just going to be a fun morning open house. They call it Cars, Coffee, and Connections. You're just going to have such a great time out there Saturday morning. Carlos, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's what I would have to say.
Oh, no, I'm looking forward to it. I would not miss it for the world. I suggest everybody be there.
Yeah.
It's a great event.
You can get all the info on the Helping Seniors of Brevard Facebook page. You can also visit HelpingSeniorsCarRaffle.com. It's kind of a shortcut to all the stuff that's going on with the car raffle. And you can actually set up now. You can get your tickets online. You can also get them at Joe's Senior Resource Center. Carlos, we're going to make sure you have tickets. And when people see you, they can just say, hey, I heard about the raffle. Can I get a ticket from you? And we're going to make sure you're set up with those too. So there's going to be lots of places around the county you can get it, but you got to be in it to win it is what we like to say. So, Carlos, I want to kind of give you the last word about all of this today, all the stuff we talked about, the home care stuff, the fun events that are coming up at the Senior Resource Center, and just good things about navigating senior life.
You know, I love working with seniors. I've done it for a while now, and it's really a blessing. And, I love being connected to Helping Seniors of Brevard. It's an excellent cause, and we do a lot of good things for a lot of people. So come on out. Don't be shy. Get in that car. Drive over tomorrow or Saturday morning and meet us and have a great time. You won't regret it, I promise.
Yeah, thanks, Carlos Cuesta with Synergy Home Care. That's the time we have for today's Helping Seniors radio show. We will look for you, Thursday and Saturday, and, of course, Wednesday, right back here for radio next week on WEJF. See you then.